So guys, it's finally happened. I have joined the Peripheral. Hey everyone, we are back talking the Peripheral, and we got a very interesting episode for you guys. But as always guys, I'm going to try my best and give you guys a good recap. But of course I might miss some things and mix up my words here and there. So as always, please be respectful and let me know in the comments down below if I messed anything up, and we can, have a civil conversation. So let's jump into episode 5, titled What About Bob? So the episode opens up a year before Aelita has gone missing, and she reconnects with her old lover Grace. We saw Grace get killed off by Dr. Nuland in episode 2 of the series by way of bees. And now we get some more information on what led up to that moment. Aelita and Grace go out for drinks and start to reminisce on their time together, and Aelita asks Grace what kind of work she is doing now. Grace takes Aelita to the same place she took Flynn when she was using the peripheral of her brother Burton in episode 1. This is where we get information on some of the things that the Research Institute is working on and what types of experiments they're doing on the stubs. Again, stubs are like alternate realities that the people from the future get to pretty much manipulate and put things in and make things up and everything. It's still not entirely clear what they can actually do with the stubs, but in this episode and in this scene we get a little bit more information on what they're actually doing with those. Grace shows Aelita one particular stub that they are experimenting on, which shows Burton and his crew moments before Connor gets his limbs blown off. Aelita says that what Grace and the Research Institute is doing is wrong and that they are playing with people's lives, real lives. Grace scoffs at this and walks Aelita out of the facility, but before they can leave, they run into Mariel Raphael, the same lady that Flynn killed in episode 1 for Aelita and whose eye was implanted into Flynn's peripheral. Mariella tells Grace that Aelita can't be here and that she doesn't have clearance, which causes a back and forth between Mariel and Grace. Aelita gives one of the most corny lines so far in the series when she says to Mariel, "I'd kill for those eyes." Yeah, it's a really corny line, and of course it's foreshadowing for what happens to Mariel in like the first episode of the series where she gets killed and everything. Very corny. We then shift to Flynn's timeline and we see a man named Bob receive a package that contains a sonic gun like the one Daniel used against Flynn in the future. He also receives a futuristic phone that rings immediately. Bob answers it, and it's Daniel on the other line telling Bob that he will get $10 million if he kills off Flynn and her family, and that if he doesn't do it, something bad will happen to his daughter. Bob seems to be some type of retired hitman who was once known as Bob the Butcher and has an impressive kill record. Bob then goes to his old friend who also was contacted by Daniel and confirms that he was the one that gave up the information about his daughter to Daniel. This leads into the first of many fight sequences in this episode where Bob kills everybody in the bowling alley, John Wick style, setting Bob up as a badass dude. He's really badass. He didn't kill anybody with a pencil, but he almost went full John Wick. We go to Billy Ann and Jasper as Billy finds out that Jasper took some of the dirty money from Corbell. Jasper lies to Billy Ann and tells her that it's not dirty money and that there's no strings attached. But we all know that that's a lie. We cut to Bob waiting for Flynn and Burton to return to the hospital after Flynn finds out that she has a bacteria infection that might have been caused by her time in the sim. Bob calls his daughter in a very Liam Neeson taken fashion and informs her that he is not going to see her again. Bob's daughter informs him that she is pregnant, and Bob, being hurt by this news that he might not be able to see his grandchild, tells his daughter goodbye. Bob then sets up his car to make it look like it needs help with his engine and hopes to get the attention of Burton and Flynn as they drive by. But to Bob's dismay, Billy Ann is the one that stops and offers to help him with his car. Bob insists that he doesn't need any help and that he is already called for assistance. Billy Ann drives off and Bob breathes a sigh of relief, but then he sees Billy Ann back up her car and she gets out and insists once again that she can help. But then Flynn and Burton drive up and Bob grabs his sonic gun and holds it behind him. Flynn sees this and tells her brother to shoot him. which I thought was kind of funny that she was just saying shoot him. She didn't say that like he has a gun. He's dangerous. He's one of them. She just keeps on saying shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. And to Burton's credit, he's kind of like, what the heck are you talking about? Are you crazy? Burton hesitates and Bob shoots the sonic gun at Flynn, but she ducks down and avoids the shot. Burton pulls out his gun and starts to return fire with Bob. Billy Ann jumps in to help Flynn and Burton and shoots Bob multiple times with a shotgun. So now we just need a spin-off series called Billy Ann with a Shotgun. Hear me out, it might be good. Bob survived the attack thanks to his bulletproof vest and surrenders. Okay, so I love and hate this whole sequence, okay? So first off, what I loved about it, Billy Ann with the shotgun, she hasn't really been a person that I thought was like badass. The only person in the show that I thought was really like badass was Flynn when she's in the sim. She can, take names and everything. These people living in the country, they know how to handle themselves, 3D printers and all. But what I didn't like about this sequence was they built up Bob as like a really badass, like I said, John Wick type character, retired hitman. He knows how to handle himself. I mean, he took out like 5 people in a bowling alley in a really, really cool style, And then he kind of gets bested by 2 civilians and 1 guy with military experience. It just kind of like makes him seem like that scene that we saw before where those guys just really, really drunk or something. I don't know. Burton then calls Tommy over to arrest Bob, but Tommy knows that there's something more to the picture and pulls Flynn aside to ask her what's going on. Then Tommy goes into this whole back when we were young kind of thing and saying something about worms and Flynn saving them and, okay. Okay, guys, I know I talked about it a little bit in my last review. Go check it out over here. But yeah, I'm just not sold on this whole Tommy and Flynn thing. I know they're trying to push it. I know probably eventually they're going to end up together. But for now, as of this 5th episode, I'm not feeling it, man. I'm not feeling Tommy. Like I said before, hopefully this series will give Tommy something meaningful to do. But as of right now, and as we'll see later on in this episode, he's pretty useless. Billy Ann gives Burton and Flynn a ride back to their house, and Burton is hesitant to talk about what just happened with Billy because of her relationship with Jasper. Billy Ann takes offense to Burton's statement and says that Jasper wouldn't hurt a fly, but we all know that isn't true. Well, it's not true that, we don't know if he's going to actually hurt anybody, but he is working for Corbell, and we know that he is pretty much being sent to spy on Flynn and Burton to see what's going on. At the Fisher house, Burton and Flynn's mother finally figures out what is going on, and Flynn tells her about where they got the medicine. Flynn's mother says that they shouldn't trust the people from the future and starts asking questions about what happens if she stops taking the medicine. And this is a valid and an important question that probably all these characters should have been asking when they were doing this entire setup. I mean, where is the medicine? What's the deal with the medicine? What's in the medicine? What happens if she stops taking the medicine? What happens if they stop giving money to Corbell? All these questions that only a mother could ask these children. Flynn storms outside the house and Burton follows her and asks her what she's going to do. Flynn says she's going to go confront Wilf finally and get this whole mess sorted out. Flynn confronts Wilf and tells him that she has been attacked and that Wilf was supposed to warn her about this kind of stuff. Wilf looks totally lost and tries to calm Flynn down and assures her that he is on the same side as her. And then on what feels like the most random turn of the conversation, Flynn's kind of like, so when we did that whole like haptic feedback kind of thing, and you kissed me and stuff, and we had the connection. What were your intentions? Do you like me? Do you like me? And I thought it was just kind of funny. It's kind of random, much like this entire episode. Meanwhile, Tommy is talking to Bob and taking him to the station to get booked when Bob starts telling Tommy that he's made a big mistake. He tells Tommy that the men that hired him will kill him just for talking to him and that he will pay Tommy $2.5 million if he lets him go. Before Tommy could answer, the police car is rammed by an invisible car, leaving Tommy heavily injured. a person in cowboy boots walks up to the car and pulls out Bob and takes him to the invisible car. Tommy makes his way out of the car, but not in time to see who the person is who had hit him, only to hear the screeching tires of the visible car speed away. Back in the future, Wilf takes Flynn to the research institute where Flynn wants to confront Dr. Nuland. Flynn says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna beat her ass," and enters the research institute to confront Dr. Nuland, who is waiting for her in a peripheral, which also brings up the question, is Dr. Nuland using peripherals the entire time? I mean, it would be smart of her to just do that, especially since she's like such a high figure in the society. The two start going back and forth, threatening each other, and Dr. Nuland says that all this will be prevented, all this can end if she just gives back what Aelita has stolen from her. And Flynn pretty much says, "I ain't got no idea what you're talking about." And for a moment there, Dr. Nuland's kind of like, she kind of gives a look like, oh, this bitch don't know what she's talking about. Maybe she's right. She don't know. But then she quickly comes back to earth and says like, nah, you're just messing with me. You know what's going on. But then they start to have a fight and, they do some kung fu and they do some backflips, and it's a pretty, I wouldn't say poorly executed choreography, battle. It's there, it's a battle. It's not the most intense thing that I've seen, but it's a fight. Flynn gets the better of Nuland and snaps her neck, ending episode 5. And if you thought that my recap was pretty fast and pretty quick, that's how this episode was. It's very lightning fast, quick. It was showing us random things. This is probably the shortest episode of the series so far. It's around 45 minutes. And it felt like that. It felt very quick. Like I said during this whole recap, I kind of felt like this episode was a little rushed. It is the shortest episode of the series so far. And with that being so short, with the amount of time, I think they kind of felt like they needed to just hurry up and just give us certain things. But I do feel like they rushed certain scenes, like the whole conflict between Flynn and Dr. Nuland. I mean, we've probably been waiting for that until the end of the series, That's why I feel like something that should happen at the end of the series. But to be fair, it's not really a full confrontation because this wasn't the real Dr. Nuland. It was just her in a peripheral, which again, I did ask the question early on, is Dr. Nuland just in peripherals the entire time? Has this whole time that we've been seeing her, has she just been in a peripheral? I think it makes sense, but I'm really interested to find that out. Is Dr. Nuland actually what she portrays herself? Is that her? Is it actually her? Is it a he? Who knows? But I did like the introduction to Bob's character in here, though I think they did him a little dirty with, showing him as a badass in the beginning and then him getting beat by a couple civilians later on. Kind of did him dirty. But I think his character has a lot of improvement and a lot of interesting things that they can develop with him. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Also, we have the man in boots who hit Tommy's car. Good on you, man in boots. But I think that might be Corbell. I just by the way that they focus on the boots, I know Corbell likes that kind of faction and everything. Maybe they gave him a invisible car, and told him to just, get this guy out of here. We need him. That's my guess. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, if it's Corbell or not, or if it's somebody else. Keep it spoiler free, because I know a couple of y'all, you already read the books. This is a conversation for people that have read the books and haven't read the books, but just assume that everybody in the comments haven't read the books and stuff, okay? But that is episode 5, guys. I think it's probably, for me personally, the weakest episode of the series so far. Very short, kind of just all over the place with its editing and its storytelling. We didn't really get that much information to further the story. We got a little bit here and there, certain aspects with Aelita and, how she figured out the research institution, what they're doing and everything. Got a little bit more backstory here and there, like, Burton's team and Connor and all that stuff. But I felt like it was just a little bit too scattershot for me. But guys, the most important thing is to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you like this episode? Did you hate this episode? What do you think about Dr. Nuland? About her using her peripheral? Is it actually her? Is that what she looks like? Is that actually Dr. Nuland in there? Let me know in the comments down below. But as always, guys, don't forget to check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, guys, keep watching.